Hello, everybody. It's Chris with Federal Injury Centers. I'm glad you're joining me tonight. I'm going to be talking about the CA-10, what a federal employee should do when injured at work. And I'm also at the end going to talk a little bit about MMI, what that is, and what it means for you. And so I'm really happy to be talking about the CA-10 tonight. Anytime I feel like I've used up all the information I have, the CA-10 is a really good go-to because it's my favorite topic. It's my favorite topic because it's the one I can go to any union meeting and I can hold one up, a CA-10, and say, who here has ever seen one of these? And, you know, if there's a room full of 30 people, 2 or 3 will raise their hand. And everyone else, I say, are you telling me you've never seen this form? Well, at the bottom right corner of the form, it says last revised in 1987. So, you know, we're 32 years into this form. And then just up above it, it says posts on employees' bulletin board. So I have a good time with that because, you know, for 32 years, you haven't seen this post on your bulletin boards. What's the problem here? So what's the problem? Well, the problem is this is what you do when you're injured at work. And, you know, like 1 out of 13 people who are federal employees has an accepted work injury claim, 1 out of 13. And, you know, I go to these meetings and I ask, you know, what percentage of people do you think have injuries? And, you know, last time I did this, it was 65%, which is a really exact number. I appreciated that. But I hear 80, 100%, everybody. All right, well, you know, like I always say, let's say it's half. And for those of you out there, you look around, you know, like there's a lot of work injuries out there. So if there's that many, only 1 out of 13 has an accepted claim. There's a problem. And so that's how I like to start my meetings when I go and do these live in person is who's seen this form and why not? If it was posted, don't you think you would have had a better time getting your claim accepted? So, you know, this form, it tells you what to do when you're injured at work. And, you know, the problem is for so many people, they have no idea, you know, like what, in fact, there's so many people that didn't even know that OWCP was such a thing. Federal employees that had no idea that they had federal workers' comp coverage when they got hurt at work. And, you know, your jobs are hard. Yes, you are covered when you get hurt at work. Pass it around. Tell your friends. And so this form is there to tell you that, but it's never posted. And so you have a responsibility as a federal employee to get it posted. So right now, I want everyone to go to federalinjurycenters.com and click on the red forms button. And go down to the CA-10, they're listed in order, and print them. Print them out, okay? And go back there as often as you need to and print them out. And get these things posted. Post them in your break room, post them on bulletin boards, post them wherever, okay? But you need your coworkers to see it. And because if you knew what to do when you were hurt at work, you'd have a way better chance at getting an accepted claim. So 1 out of 13 people has an accepted claim, 1. 12 out of 13 don't. If you knew what to do when you got hurt, your odds of having an accepted claim go way up. Everybody that knows me knows that this is my standard line, no more denied claims. Well, look, you're not even giving yourself a chance to have a denied claim because you're not even attempting to start a claim because you don't know how. So I'm going to go through the CA-10 with you. I'd like everyone right now to get your phone and open up your internet browser, Safari if you have an iPhone, and go to federalinjurycenters.com and click on the Forms tab. You can follow along right there on your phone so that you can see unless you're watching this on your phone, and then don't do that. Wait till afterwards. But that way you can look at it. So the CA-10, what a federal employee should do when injured at work, has 5 parts. It's broken down into 5 small paragraphs. And it's easy. So actually reporting your injury and filing a claim is easy because everything that you do in this form happens in a single visit with your supervisor. Now, I always ask, who has a really good time working with your supervisor, or who doesn't have a problem with your supervisor? Nobody raises their hand to that. I understand. Working with your supervisor is painful. I get it. If I could do, and I say this all the time, if I could do a management training class, number 1, probably nobody would show up, but 2, whoever did wouldn't like it very much, because they're not doing a great job at being your manager. And so it's making it hard for you to want to, you know, interact with them and report injuries. But unfortunately, the first part of the CA1 says report to your supervisor. And so you've got to go talk to your supervisor. You got to go tell them that you were hurt. Before I move on to the next parts of it, let me explain a couple of horror stories from people that didn't do that. So today I heard of a guy who was injured a little more than 4 years ago and didn't tell a supervisor. Well, you have 3 years to report your injury. 3 years, not 30 days, not 1 year, 3 years. And in 4 years didn't do it. So, didn't report to the supervisor. There's really nothing anybody can do about it. And, while you're reporting to your supervisor, you're filling out forms. That's the third part. But I had a person today also that did that, and they actually did report to the supervisor, but didn't fill out any forms. And, one of the real common things that I see happen is someone will tell a supervisor, I was hurt. And the supervisor won't even mention there's this thing called a CA1 form, you should fill it out. And so it's your responsibility to know, because you can't count on your supervisor to give you good information. All right, so you need to understand this form, you need to share it, and understand the other parts of the form. So let's go through it. So the first part is report to your supervisor. And it says as soon as possible. But if you wait more than 7 days, you start losing benefits. So you need to report your injuries now if it's a CA1. Now, a CA1 form or injury is an injury that happens in a single work shift, like stepping down out of your LOV and twisting your knee. Okay, stepping into a hole, twisting your ankle, lifting a box, filling a pot, a dog bite. All of these things happen in a single shift, usually in a single instance. Those types of injuries are reported using a form CA1 for traumatic injury. There's a CA2 form, and that's for injuries that happen over a longer period of time, or conditions, not just injuries, illnesses as well. A really common physical condition that happens over a period of time is carpal tunnel syndrome, tendonitis, low back pain, knee arthritis. Those things develop over time. And those are filled or reported using a CA2. So it says report as soon as possible, but as soon as possible means now. Report it now. So you don't want to wait. If you wait more than 7 days, you're not eligible for what's called a CA16. I'm glad you asked what a CA16 is. A CA16 pays all your bills for 60 days. So if you're sitting at home, raise your hand if you want to pay all the bills out of your pocket. Right, me either. So if you have a CA16, Department of Labor pays your bills. So what's the problem? Well, and it pays your bills for 60 days. So what's the problem? Well, supervisors have never heard of it, or they don't want to give it to you, okay? So you need to know that the law is that they have 4 hours to give it to you from the time that you request it. So when you ask for a CA16, they have 4 hours to give it to you. 4 hours, 1 minute, grievance, okay? File a grievance, because this is your right. It pays your bills. Look, you have to understand, cases aren't accepted in the first 60 days, almost never. Many of you that are on here right now can testify to that cases take forever to get accepted. And what did I say? Only 1 out of 13 claims gets accepted nationwide. You definitely want your bills paid for the first 60 days. So get a CA16, and that's what the second part says. But it says a second thing too. The second part of this form says you can choose your own doctor. You have the right to initial selection of doctor. So today I had a couple of people that had problems related to initial selection of doctor. We're going to get to that. But let me explain this concept of you have a right to choose. Many of your supervisors are telling you that you've got to go to an urgent care. And many post offices have an urgent care office or some doctor's office that they're contracted with. And so here's what the law says. It says that nobody can force you to go to a doctor who's employed by or under contract with the agency. What does that mean? It means you can choose your own doctor. The other thing it says, the law, is that you have the right to initial selection. So you have the right to initial selection, meaning you can choose your doctor. But it also says your supervisor can't do it for you, and you can't be penalized for it. So you want to be able to choose your own doctor. So why is that important? Because once you choose a doctor, or once a doctor is chosen for you, that's your doctor. And then if you want to change doctors to somebody, for reasons, say like, you like your claim accepted, because that's kind of important, you've got to now request a change of treating doctor from DOL. And I had 2 people today that had that issue. And they wanted to change doctors, and Department of Labor denied their request. and they have ridiculous reasons. You know, they've got this hierarchy of what kind of doctor is better than another kind of doctor. You know, an orthopedic surgeon is better than a general practitioner, and a DO, shockingly, is more important than an MD. And you know, they have all kinds of just arbitrary things that they say to deny your change of treating doctor. And so, you know, the best way to avoid that is make the right choice the first time. But for so many of you, making the right choice is almost impossible. You know, the nice lady I was speaking to in Iowa the other day, I told her, you know, normally when I'm talking about places that don't have doctors, I say Iowa. Well, man, Iowa's like just one of, I don't even know, 40 states that probably don't have any doctors, or definitely don't have doctors that will admit that they take OWCP. And so you have a hard time finding the right doctor. You know, Gini and I will help you with that almost always. All those like buttons right now are her. That's funny. And the loved ones. So I love this too. This is awesome. So you want help finding a doctor. I see Jerry in there too. Hey, Jerry. And so we'll help you with that. It's awfully hard if there's not a place where you can, where there's a doctor close to you that we know of, because most doctors get claims denied. How do I know that? Because only 1 out of 13 federal employees has an accepted claim. And that's year after year after year after year. It's just always that way. No matter how hard we try, these claims keep coming back denied because they're going to doctors that I've never met. So you want to choose the right doctor the first time so that you don't have to change treating doctors later. So remember, you don't have to go to the doctor that they tell you to go to. The law says you can go wherever you want and they can't stop you or penalize you for doing it. So that's what the second thing says along with getting the CA-16. The third part of the CA-10, it says fill out your CA-1 or CA-2 forms with your supervisor. So here's what's happening. Supervisors are not wanting to do it. They don't want injuries on their record. And so they do whatever they can to avoid letting you have those forms. So look, those forms, you're right. And you can go to federalinjurycenters.com and print them. So if your supervisor refuses to give you a CA-1 or 2, go get it yourself. Go to federalinjurycenters.com and print the CA-1 or the CA-2, depending on your injury type, and fill out page 1 and turn it into the supervisor. There are harsh penalties for a supervisor failing or refusing to process your claim. All right, they have to do it. And so just give it to them, make them fill it out. And so what they have to do is fill out page 2 and then give you the receipt. And then from there, they have 10 days to turn it into DOL. But it's interesting, the CA-10 is the law. And this law tells the supervisor they have to do it, but then they still won't. And then there's other places in the law, in the Code of Federal Regulations, it's in there, that it says that the supervisor has to fill it out. It says fill out and make sure page 1 and 2 are complete and give it back to you. So they have to give you copies of everything that's filled out as well. And so don't leave there without complete copies of everything you fill out. Now, why is that? Glad you asked. So on page 2 of the CA-1, the supervisor has 3 places where they can write bad things to hose your case. Now, if they write knowingly false statements in those boxes of the CA-1, they can be heavily penalized. The penalty for a knowingly false statement in connection with OWCP is up to 5 years in prison. So who thinks that's bad? Don't do it. But make sure that supervisors know that. You know, let them know, hey, you know, you can be penalized for saying that. Are you sure you want to say that? You sure you want to say this didn't happen in performance of duty? Are you sure you want to say that this is due to willful misconduct? Are you 100% sure? Because a knowingly false statement can cause you to get a very heavy penalty. So you want to get copies of everything. The fourth part of the CA-10 says notice of receipt. Well, we just talked about that, right? The supervisor has to give that to you. So the notice of receipt is part of the CA-1 and CA-2. And so while you're sitting down reporting to your supervisor, getting a CA-16, selecting your doctor, filling out your CA-1 or 2, you're also getting the notice of receipt. This is not that big of a deal. And honestly, if you sit down and do it and just uninterrupted, the two of you should be able to get this done in like 15 minutes or less. This is the easiest thing in the world, but people aren't doing it. And they're not doing it, so they're not getting claims accepted. They're not getting claims accepted because they're not reporting. They're not getting their claims filed. Okay, so you got to get that done. They're not getting claims accepted because they're selecting bad doctors. They're going to the doctor the supervisor forces them to go to. Hey, which makes me think of this, VA. We love the VA. We love the employees of the VA. But the injury comp people, the VA tell VA employees they have to go to VA doctors to be seen when they get hurt. No, you don't. Now listen, if it's an emergency, you need stitches. You need a splint, a broken bone. I don't know, you had a head injury and got a giant knot, or I don't know what, but emergencies. Go to the emergency room, go to the urgent care, go to the VA doctor. Go do that. I mean, take care of yourself. Don't make a bad medical decision because I said you don't have to go there. Go when it's smart to go. But don't go a second time, because you go a second time, guess who's your treating doctor? And now you got to go through the trouble of changing treating doctors, and it's just too much hassle. So we don't want that. So, but you don't have to go to the VA doctor. Remember, you cannot be forced to go to a doctor who's employed by or under contract with the agency. I mean, that was written for the VA. All right, so it's really important. So report your injury to your supervisor now. As soon as possible means now. And get a CA-16 if it's a CA-1 injury. Don't wait, just get it, and they have 4 hours to give it to you. If they don't, file a grievance. You can select your own doctor, and if you don't select your own doctor, and your doctor is selected for you, that becomes your treating doctor, and changing treating doctors is hard. Okay, claims examiners have a narrow focus in that, and they make bad decisions, and they don't understand always what's best for you. What's best for you is just make a good choice up front. Okay, choose the right doctor the first time. If you go to an urgent care, don't go back. Take the time to find a doctor. Call us and let us help you. It's really hard in some places, but we'll do the best we can. So the fifth part of the CA-10 is how to get paid. So who likes to get paid? I do, you do, I know we all do. So here's the deal. It tells you can select continuation of pay, or COP, or you can choose your sick and annual leave. Well, if it's a CA-1 claim and you report it right away, you'll get COP if you want it, because you have to report within 30 days to get your continuation of pay. So you can elect COP, but what happens if your claim's denied? Well, I was talking to a woman today in Pennsylvania. Her claim was denied, and they're already trying to get her money back, because if your claim's denied, you have to pay back continuation of pay. So you got 45 days, potentially up to 45 days of COP, and you want to pay it back? So what do? They take your sick time, they take your annual time, and the rest of it is considered an overpayment, and they want their money. So it's in your best interest to get your claim accepted. All right, well, how do we do that? We go to a good doctor who knows how to write narratives. And when your doctor doesn't know how to write narratives, you got to help your doctor write narratives, okay? If you didn't find one of my doctors, I'm sorry. I wish you would, and I want you to. And if you're not able to get to the doctors that I've trained around the country, and there's a lot of them, and you find yourself someplace like Iowa or Idaho, or shockingly, California, New York, and you can't find a really good doctor who is willing to take the time to write these narratives, your claim's going to get denied. And so you've got to be like the police of that doctor's narrative. It's your life, right? You've got to care enough about this to read it and say, whoa, this looks kind of not detailed enough. So the woman in Pennsylvania sent me her narrative and let me look at it. It was overall a pretty good narrative, but there was a line in there I didn't like. And it wasn't about medical decision making because I don't have a medical license. I don't make medical decisions. It was just a line that I thought looked weak. And I told her about it. I said, hey, just run this past your doctor and see what he thinks. And she came back and she said, he refused to change it. I said, okay, well, I hope that your claim will get accepted. If it doesn't, call me back. We'll go through the denial letter. We'll point out in the denial letter, we'll just circle it, where it tells the doctor that it was basically denied because of that line I told him about. And if you still won't change it, let's get you to another doctor who will. So take a look at your narrative reports. I'm always happy to look at these. I can't make medical decisions, but I know a good report when I see it, so I'm happy to do it. Now, there are 2.8 million federal employees, so if all of you start sending me medical narratives, I might get backed up. So be patient with me. So that's a CA-10, what a federal employee should do when injured at work. Yeah, haha, and wow, those are funny. Don't cry for me, that's all the tier one. So I know there's a bunch of questions here. I'm going to answer some questions before I go talk about MMI. And so I've been talking for 19 minutes and 52 seconds. Typically, I go to a union meeting and talk about the CA10 like this, and it takes me about 14 minutes. So I've talked 5 minutes more than normal. I still feel like I might have rushed it. So let's hear your questions. I'm going to start at the top and see what we've got. Jeannie's on too. When you see Sarojini Prasad, that's Jeannie, and she may answer some questions along the way as well. Rhonda was laying on the ground for 30 minutes and no supervisor came out. I have to keep my bad words to myself, Rhonda. Sorry, if I respond to that, I'm going to say something that your supervisor will regret. Yep, Donna, it's almost impossible to switch doctors, but we are talking to Eric, the lawyer, to see what his opinion on this is, and trying to find a way to make it easier for you. Because, you know, I think, and it's just my opinion, I think one of the really good reasons why you should be able to switch doctors is because your doctor did a bad job and got your claim denied. Remember what I've told you, a denied claim is the doctor's fault. It's not your fault. It's not the claims examiner's fault. You know, I don't think claims examiners are sitting there going, hope I can deny some claims today. I don't think that's what's happening. I think they have a, you know, a list of rules they have to follow. And they're, you know, these are not doctors either, claims examiners. They don't have medical licenses. And so they're probably just checking off check sheets. And if your doctor doesn't check all the boxes, it's denied. So denied claim is the doctor's fault. Let's see what we've got here. So Jared, I'm waiting on my continuation of pay. It's been since the 7th day of the year. You're waiting on COP? All right, Jared, so here's what's happened. You are eligible for COP if you reported a CA1 injury within 30 days, okay? If you reported it within 30 days, your COP should have kicked in like 3 days, okay? So if you're waiting for COP, something's wrong. You need to call your claims examiner right away. I mean, like right away. First thing tomorrow, like start a business, Jared, call your claims examiner because believe me, you should have been paid already. Like clockwork paid. Like something's badly wrong there. Something bad happened. One thing that could have happened is box 35 on the second page of the CA1. It asks the supervisor if they are controverting COP. Find out if they did. Did you read the form? See what it says. And then call the claims examiner and find out why the heck you're not getting paid. It's your right to get that. Delvin, I had to switch because mine retired. But hey, that's actually one good reason to switch. They will never argue with you on that. Took them 2 weeks to review. That's also not a surprise. Lynn, Chris, have you ever heard of your... Oh, of what, being out of work over a year, then the post office can fire you? Okay, so there is a thing about this where if you're gone and unable to work, they can definitely reassign you. But being able to fire you because you're out of work for a year, I mean, okay, being out of work for a year is a really long time. But I think you need to talk to your union about that. That's a tragedy. Honestly, the doctors that I work with, they go out of their way not to take people off of work for a long time. What they're really trying to do is sending people back with restrictions, even if they're heavy restrictions, so that if you're out of work, it's because your supervisor sent you home, not because your doctor did. So, you know, the post office will do a lot of things. What they can do is a different story. So talk to your union about that, Lynn. My doctor was trained by this awesome guy. I hope I get approved. Who's that guy, Siobhan? I hope you get approved too, because if you don't, I don't want you to be my first denial. Rhonda, I'll talk about the schedule award in just a minute. Debbie, how do we know what doctor to go to that will be accepted? That's a good one. So, you know, I'm only just thinking of this for the first time, but let's say that you have a list of doctors. You go to the ACS website, you have a list of doctors, and your doctor is long, you've got 2 on the list. And you want to decide which of those 2 you should go to. I would ask, you know, how good are you getting cases accepted? What's your winning percentage? If I were talking to some people, I'd say, hey, what's your batting average? Are you good at this? Do you get cases denied, accepted? Do you know how? It's not, you know, interview and, you know, find out what, you know, what their success rate is. But how do you know what doctor to go to? Number one, they have to know what OWCP stands for. They have to understand like the system. It's really a complicated answer, but if your doctor doesn't understand the OWCP system, it's probably going to get your case denied. So interview the doctor. Yeah, Delvin, the DOL has a website that lists doctors. Yeah, that's the ACS website. If you Google OWCP ACS, it'll pop up, number one, and scroll down and click on provider search, and then just go through. It's a real problem. Most people hate ACS because most of the doctors on there don't want OWCP or don't know what it is. They're listed on there because somebody in their billing office got them, credentialed with DOL, but they don't really want it because they don't know how to get paid. Because they don't realize that the secret to getting paid is getting a claim accepted. So when they don't get paid, it's their fault. It's not your fault, and it's not OWCP's fault either. Let's see. So Natisha was terminated after 90 days from being out under doctor's orders. So, you can't be fired for having a work injury. And so I've seen this happen where the union was able to get the person their job back, plus all the back pay. So hopefully you're part of your union. If so, talk to them. Either way, you can also talk to Eric Blowers if you want his phone number, let us know. I haven't done this in a while, but I want to say it. If you're not part of your union, you should be. I'm not here to make financial decisions on your part, and I don't know, if you can afford the monthly union dues. But here's what I do know: you can't afford to not have the backing of the union, because if you get fired, what does it cost you to get fired? If you make $35,000 a year, it costs you $35,000 a year to get fired, and I'm guessing union dues are a small fraction of that. And so, the union presidents that I know that are really powerful, like, Al and Natasha and Tish and in Florida, it's like really powerful, like strong union presidents wouldn't let that happen. And you would probably get your job back with all your back pay. And so if it were me, I'd want to be part of the union. I'd want to show up to union meetings. I go to union meetings. I go to union meetings more than you do. And, I don't pay dues or get the benefits of the union. And so I think you should show up and see what's going on over there. And if you did, you probably would have heard me talk already and have this information and probably not get fired. So I really think you should get involved. And I hear, look, before I start reading down and say, well, my union doesn't do this and my union doesn't do that, I'm not going to get into union bashing. There's an exception to every rule. But in my opinion and in my experience and what I've seen, people have a better success rate when they are part of the union. What else we got? Lori, what's the best time to contact me? You can call that 877 number that Gini just posted, because if you want to get a hold of me, it's like rolling the dice, good luck. But if you call the 877 number, Gini will get you in touch with me, and I'll be happy to help. More than happy to help. And we'd love you to call. And Donna, who says after 10 years, your shoulder's never going to be the same. So that's what MMI is about. I'm going to get to that in just a second. And hey, Matt's on. Hey, Matt, what's happening? How are you? I read your narrative today, Matt, or yesterday, and it looked really good. We made a couple of little edits to it, but it's looking really good. Mike, just had an employee get their claim denied for element number 5, causal relationship. Can you explain a good causal relationship? Yes, I can. I'm glad you asked. A good causal relationship clearly explains the detail of the injury and how it happened on the job. Okay. A very simple one is a letter carrier who's delivering the mail and gets bit by a dog. So the causation is, I'm doing my job and I went to that house and the dog bit me. I have a hole in my leg now caused by that dog, right? And believe it or not, like, it probably requires retarded little details like that. It's completely ridiculous. It's not good enough to just say, I have dog bite. That should be enough. Or I was in a car accident. The causation is I was delivering the mail in a car accident, or I was driving to and from VAs in the course of work and I was rear-ended and it caused a whiplash, and then the doctor has to go through the medical stuff that happened there. Causation is simply a detailed explanation of how the injury happened on the job. And too often the doctor will just write, the person has back pain and it happened, from lifting a box. Denied. It requires a lot of really great detail. And the number 5 causal relationship is the number 1 reason claims get denied, because doctors just don't write good details on that, Mike. Yeah, so Donna, getting a lawyer, the problem with getting a lawyer is you can't sue Department of Labor. I mean, if the doctor really did a bad job and it's malpractice, that's a different issue. But there's no harm in talking to a lawyer, because almost all of them will do it for free and have a conversation with you for free to see what your options are. Let's see. All right, so the next question was about MMI, so let's talk about it. This question is, what happens after you get MMI and then you have more problems with the same issue? So let's first discuss MMI. This is our second topic. So what is MMI? This stands for maximum medical improvement. That means medically you are as good as you're ever going to be. That the treatment that you're getting has stopped working. That everything that can be done to help you has been done, and now you are as good as you're ever going to be. You're at your maximum medical improvement, right? And so when a doctor determines that you're an MMI, because that's how you decide, like, who tells me I'm an MMI? A doctor. Only a doctor can. Once the doctor decides you're an MMI medically, and only your treating doctor can determine this, then you need to get an impairment rating. Now, the impairment rating is done by the Guide to Permanent Impairment. Well, Department of Labor only recognizes a 6th edition to permanent impairment. So that's the guide. It's a purple textbook looking thing. And so your doctor's got to be able to use the 6th edition guide to permanent impairment. And a lot of doctors have no idea how to do this. And so if your doctor doesn't know how to use a 6th edition for impairment, you need to tell them to refer you to somebody that does, or you go find somebody that does. And once you find somebody that does, get a referral from your doctor to that doctor. Because it's a deal breaker. I see all the time people coming in getting an impairment rating using the 5th edition. The 5th edition is no good, okay? 5th edition is going to result in you getting 0%, which is also $0. So it's got to be done by a 6th edition trained medical doctor, or DO. Okay, a chiropractor also can't sign these impairment rating reports. It's got to be a medical doctor. So what happens from there is the impairment rating report that's done on the 6th edition is attached to a CA7, claim for compensation. You select letter D, schedule award, because what you're looking for is a schedule award. So MMI leads to impairment rating by the 6th edition, which leads to schedule award, which leads to money. Okay, it's checks. You get paid. So there's a dollar value for each percentage impairment. So you need your doctor to be trained on the 6th edition guide, as well as Department of Labor's formula that you got to plug all that into, okay, that can be found on DOL's website. So that's how you get to a schedule award or money. Now, the really terrible thing, this is one thing I really disagree with, is that the spine is not rateable. So if you have a neck, thoracic, or lumbar injury, or sacrum, right, any of the parts of the spine, you can't get an impairment rating or a schedule. You can get an impairment rating all day long, but your schedule award will be equal to 0, because DOL does not pay schedule awards for the spine. So your arms, your hands, your elbows, your shoulders are real common. We were talking about one of those today. Knees, hips, ankles, those things all have a rating. Other things have ratings too that are not, muscular body parts. If you lose an eye, you lose vision, you lose hearing, those things have an impairment rating. You can just Google schedule award. It's called a schedule award chart. Go ahead and do this. Google OWCP schedule award chart, and you'll see the list of things that are rateable. So that's what MMI is, maximum medical improvement. It leads to a 6th edition impairment rating by a trained medical doctor. That report goes to a CA7. That's sent into DOL, and then they pay you or they deny it. Now, if they deny it, it's not a big deal. It comes with a letter of denial. They'll tell you why. Your doctor can fix it. So I would just say, as a rule of thumb, the higher the dollar value of your schedule award, the greater the likelihood of an initial denial. But that's just how that goes. So what happens after you get MMI and then you have more problems with the same issue? Well, the good news for you is if you have an accepted claim, oh, by the way, in order to get a schedule award, you have to have an accepted claim. So I think that goes without saying, but just in case. After that, you have lifetime medical. So if your doctor can show that they can relieve your pain or other symptoms, or if they've got good reasons to do treatment, you can always get more treatment on an accepted claim. So let's see what other questions we've got here. How much time do you have to reopen a case after being denied? So after being denied, so if you were denied, your case was never open, but I'm going to answer it 2 different ways. Every time you get a denial, you have 12 months from the denial date to do an appeal. Okay, so you have 12 months from each denial to appeal it. And every denial letter comes with a form that tells you your options on appeal. Lots of times a request for reconsideration is better if you can get new medical information for them to consider. How much time do you have to reopen a case after it's closed is forever. If you have a closed case that needs to be reopened, medically it can be reopened. There's never a timeline where it can't be. So what if you've had restrictions for 10 years? I'm actually back to not being able to do my job and answering phones again because of my limitations. You can work with restrictions as long as the agency will let you. You know, they're going to give you the, they may even offer a permanent restricted job offer. So that really is just agency specific, location specific, postmaster specific, supervisor specific. It really depends on your individual situation. Marianne Prater. Hang in there. I know, hang in there. Rhonda, when they deny you limited duty, you got to talk to your union. Okay, anytime they're going to make an offer to you or decline an offer to you, you need to get your union involved. Lynn, you asked where can I find that. I'm a little bit far down the line. Tell me what you're looking for. In fact, send me a text message or a Facebook message and ask me the question, and I'll get you exactly what you're looking for, okay? Yeah, Natisha. I hope I'm saying that right. Do what Sarojini told you. Jeannie's right. Contact your state president, if not national. All right, Donna, my doctor has told me not to work and wrote it on my restrictions, and DOL refused to pay me for those days. So if you're off of work because of a CA-17, then you got to fill out a CA-7 form and be sure you're turning that in to DOL with your CA-17 explaining that you're off. You probably need to fill out a CA-20 form as well, which is something that a doctor has to do for you, the 17 and the 20. And so anytime that you're off of work because a doctor took you off, you're supposed to select leave without pay on your CA-7 form. Siobhan requested a refund of her union dues. Let me know how that goes. Hey, Donna, where are you located anyways? I think I knew this before, but I can't remember. Where are you located? Cindy Smith, only Devin Cassidy is trained. There's no doubt about that. So Devin's a friend of mine. He's one of the very few people in this country that I think can hold a very intelligent conversation with me about OWCP. He's an excellent resource. Excellent resource. I hope I'm going to see him in a couple of weeks. You're welcome, Mike. Boy, there was Did I talk that much? There's a lot of stuff. I'm way behind. Cleveland or Chattanooga, Tennessee. So we have an office in Memphis. I know that's not close, Donna. Siobhan says, this live video is very informative and she loves it. We love you too. Hey, Jerry, don't forget to call me tomorrow. Does DOL take your doctor's word for it, or will they send me to one of their doctors too? Either or. They might take your doctor's word for it, or they may send you one of theirs. If they send you to one of theirs, unfortunately, you have to go. It's a requirement. Don't blow that off. Shoulder is one of the highest paid. I don't know. Check out that chart, Donna. It's based on weeks of payment, and you'll see how many weeks certain things are worth. Rhonda was sent to a physical therapist for MMI, like to do an impairment rating. I mean, if the PT signed the impairment rating, what you can do with that is take a trash can and set it over there and wad it up and just take shots at the trash can until you make it. It's no good with a PT signature. Now, the PT can do it and have the MD sign off on it, but if the PT signs off on it, it's game over. It's never going to happen. And who sent you there? I mean, who sent you to a PT for? I can't even keep going on that. How do you add to an accepted claim? That's a new question. Barbara, adding to an accepted claim, like adding a diagnosis, is called a diagnosis expansion. So this happens all the time because somebody will, you'll get like your shoulder accepted, but you had an elbow problem. And so the doctor's just got to go back and do causation again and show how the elbow is related to the same injury as the shoulder. But it's called a report of diagnosis expansion, or a diagnosis expansion report. It's a narrative report your doctor's got to do, your medical doctor. A lot of them don't know how to do it, okay? But you asked, I gave you the answer. My doctor didn't do it, but OWCP approved a therapist doing an impairment rating? Okay, it's definitely not in the rules, but you must have had a really nice claims examiner. If you reach MMI but can't do your job, what are your options? Okay, so this is what I like to avoid, but there is a thing called federal disability, and it's through the Office of Personnel Management. But disability is no good. Okay, look, being injured is no good either, and not being able to do your job is no good. Neither of these is good. But if you can't work and your only option is federal retirement, then you have to go through the Office of Personnel Management. You have to have a narrative report by the doctor that explains why you can no longer do that job. But it's not saying you're disabled. It's not like disability. It's saying you're disabled from that job. It's like if you're a letter carrier, you can't carry the mail. Maybe you can be a clerk. Maybe you can go work at Subway and make sandwiches. You just can't carry the mail. And so what it's doing is saying, because you can't carry the mail, you're eligible for 60% of your income the first year and 40% thereafter. But you can still go get that job at Subway. So you get that 80% plus this 40% by year 2. And so, if you love making sandwiches, that's a good deal for you. If you love carrying the mail, it's a bad deal for you. Shirley said they won't do spine for MMI, but it's whatever the spine is affecting. I have 2 ruptured discs and it affects my legs and feet. Correct. So if it's affecting your arms and legs or anything below your shoulders or hips, it can be covered if it comes from the spine, but they won't rate the spine. They'll only rate the extremities. Kim, is there anything specific I need to ask him to find out if he's qualified to do this? Well, ask him if he knows, A, are you credentialed with DOL? B, do you know how to do 6th edition impairment ratings? If he knows those 2 things, good to go. Yeah, they missed your shoulder trying for a year to add it. It's not too late. You reported your injury on time, so you can definitely do it. But getting a body part added is tricky. It's just not impossible. The doctor just knows how to write the narrative. Delvin, if I get approved for light duty and my office doesn't offer anything, can I still file CA7? So your doctor sends you back to light duty and your supervisor sends you home? Yes, you can get paid for leave without pay. You're trying to work. If they send you home, you have a right to get paid. I have a shoulder neck injury and I want to get surgery. Can I wait till after I retire, or should I get it done before I retire? I do have an accepted claim. I always recommend that you do everything prior to retirement. You have way less hassles. Okay, that's my recommendation prior to retirement, but that's a personal decision. I just see, in my experience, people had less hassle if things happened prior to retirement. It's definitely a good question, though. Phyllis Green, what form do I need to file an occupational disease, and do I have to notify management before filing? Okay, so you have to file a CA2, and you have to notify management at the second that you file, because management has to fill out page 2 of the form. You fill out page 1. So remember, back on the CA10, what a federal employee should do when injured at work, you report to the supervisor, and while you're sitting there, you fill out your CA2. It's like at the same time. Now, you can go to the doctor and have the doctor help you understand your injury first, but at the point that you turn in your CA2, it's being turned in and filled out with your supervisor anyways, almost at the same time. I hope that helps, Phyllis. Donna, you're welcome. I'm not sure why I'm having to hurry up. I guess I got way behind, Jeannie. How often can you file for a schedule award for each case? You know, believe it or not, it's not a bad question. The doctors that I know have said that if you go back later on and it's actually worse, that they can update your schedule award, which would be worth more money to you. So how often is like whenever, you know, if it becomes relevant, I think that's the answer. Yeah, Jerry, Tom wants to talk to me about it before. We'll talk. I still want to talk to you tomorrow. Call me tomorrow. Just because I have some ideas and I want to run them past you before the ideas leave my head. Once a DOL second opinion doctor, Matt, issues a report, can a claimant or their attorney representative contact that doctor with additional questions or for clarification on their opinion? Yeah, Matt, you can definitely do that. I just can't guarantee that that will be considered by your claims examiner. But if you're able to get those questions answered in writing, I would e-comp that right away and let's see what happens. Because that's their doctor. If their doctor gives you a favorable answer to your questions, I would think they'd have to consider it. And from what I know about you, Matt, you seem like exactly the right person to do that. So Kim asked if I can talk a little bit more about what happens after MMI, like what happens if you lose more range of motion or if you have to have surgery. That goes back to the previous answer I gave over there, Kim, is that if later on you actually worse, your impairment percentage is worse, they can modify your schedule award. I hope that doesn't happen though, because when they modify your schedule award where you get more money, that also means you have less ability to, use whatever is messed up. So it's better to, in my opinion, better to have function. Like I've got a really bad back. There's no amount of money that I could get that would make me want my back to stay this way. I'm sure you feel the same way. It's just my opinion of it. So what was that again, to have a condition added to the claim? It's called a diagnosis expansion. Diagnosis expansion, Angela. Rhonda asked, how do I find a doctor that does the impairment rating if I get denied? So I don't know how to tell you how to find a doctor, but I can tell you there is this. So a lot of my doctors do it. Okay, so if you ever just want to fly someplace or take a road trip, a lot of my doctors do it. There's also this guy in Oklahoma City named Dr. Ellis. And Dr. Ellis has done more schedule award impairment ratings himself than I think all the other DOL doctors in the world combined. So this guy is, he's a gifted doctor, and he's in Oklahoma City. People fly to him all the time to get these done. You can Google Ellis Clinic. It's also ellisclinic.com. As I understand it, he's the best in the world at it. ellisclinic.com. Disclaimer, he's not part of Federal Injury Centers. He and I don't have any kind of business relationship. I'm just very fond of him, and he's good. I hope he's fond of me too, because he's really good. Yeah, Rhonda, if you're separated from the Postal Service and you have an accepted claim already, you can definitely still apply for a schedule award. That's your right as a federal employee because you were injured in the course of employment as a federal employee. Even if you no longer work there, when you hit MMI, you will be eligible for a schedule award. What else we got? Here's a good one. Corby, sent MMI to the district within 5 days. How long do they have to get back with me so I can certify it to DOL? So there's no timeline. Unfortunately, there's no timeline. Sending it in within 5 days actually was the timeline because anything on a CA7 has got to be submitted within 5 days of the CA7. But they can take all the time they need to evaluate your claim, unfortunately. So there's no timeline on that. I recommend if it feels like it's taking a long time, call them until they make a decision. And that decision has to be in writing. Sean, you're in Boise. Can I search for a good MMI doctor in my area also, in your area? Yeah, hey, remind me, or Shauna, I'm sorry, I said Sean. Shauna, remind me, send us a private message and we'll try to help you out with that, okay? I don't know any doctors in Idaho, I'm going to tell you right now in advance, but we'll roll the dice. Maybe we'll get lucky. So they inaccurately, Cheryl, stated that you have returned to work and your CA7s have stopped being processed due to no list of wages. So you're going to have to talk to your claims examiner. You're probably going to need your doctor to write a narrative report explaining that you have not returned to work, attach the doctor's CA17 to that. And I would even get it's a long shot, but get your supervisor to write a statement as well that you're not back to work. You either are or you aren't. And if you're not, and it's because you have a CA17 taking you out of work, they should be paying you. What else we got? Lee, you went to Dr. Ellis and he was great. Yes, yes, for sure. He is incredible. What else we got here? Barbara, doctors in Louisiana, that is one of the #1 questions that I get. And the answer is not that we've been able to find. Same for doctors in Michigan. We just haven't been able to find any. So I've gotten to the end of the questions. Let me just do a quick recap of what we talked about. I started off talking about the CA10, what a federal employee should do when injured at work. 1 out of 13 federal employees has an accepted claim. And one of the best ways to make that number go up is for you to know what to do when you get hurt. So go to federalinjurycenters.com and click on the red forms tab and print out all the CA10s that you want and do what it says. Now that's law, okay? So it says post on employees' bulletin boards. So go find some bulletin boards and post them. Tell your friends about it. And in fact, everyone's got a friend at work. Definitely tell your friends about it. Hey, look at this form. You haven't seen this before. Let's look at it. Let's read it. Because everybody's getting hurt. Not everybody, obviously I'm exaggerating, but there's a lot of injuries, and it's way more than 1 out of 13. And so I want everyone to post these. I want to see them posted everywhere. I'm encouraged when I go to union meetings, groups that I've been to in the past. I always ask on subsequent meetings, who's ever seen this form? And I'm always encouraged when a lot of the room raises their hand because they're actually doing it. And so, right now there's 61 people that I can see viewing this at this second. There should be 61 printouts at least off federalinjurycenters.com of the CA10 form. Get these things posted. Knowing what to do will increase your odds of getting a claim accepted, because you have to first attempt the claim before it can ever be accepted. So you attempt it by doing the 5 steps on the We also talked about what is MMI, maximum medical improvement, and how you have to go to a doctor that's 6th edition trained and can do an impairment rating, attach that to a CA7, and turn that in for your schedule award. So, and schedule award is worth money, not on the spine unless there are peripheral issues in the arms or legs. So, you know, we had a lot of other really good questions tonight, which I appreciate. We've had over 200 comments, which makes my job a lot easier here. Otherwise, you see me sitting here just staring into the camera, which isn't that entertaining. So I see we've got maybe a couple of other things here. I'm going to answer all the questions that come in, and then after I sign off for the night, I'll continue answering questions, and so will Gini. Donna, if I go for MMI, I want to go to a good one. I assume it has to be one who accepts workers' comp. Well, yes, definitely. So nobody is going, okay, that's not true, actually. You can find doctors that are 6th edition trained that don't take federal workers' comp. The problem is they charge you a lot of money out of your pocket. And, you know, there is a way for doctors to bill Department of Labor. However, a really, really good doctor like Dr. Ellis may charge you. But you know what? You got to just weigh out the value of what you're going to get on your schedule award versus what it costs you out of your pocket. Generally, the cost, if you have to pay out of pocket, is a fraction of the value of the schedule award. So just, you know, make a personal business decision on that. But it is a good idea to go to one that understands OWCP. Kim, if my doctor is not able to do the MMI, is there anything that needs to be done before I see one that can? Well, you definitely need to be at MMI. You'll need to get all your records, and be sure whatever doctor you go to has an opportunity to review your records so that they can make an intelligent decision on your behalf. And Lynn, it looks like you're about to have a nice little payday, but you know what? If they would have just done the right job the first time, you wouldn't be in this situation. So I hope that works out for you. Tammy, I'll use your son's story when the case is accepted, okay? Not if, but when. Rhonda, you're welcome, as are you, Ruby. Do you have any information on OWCP attorneys in different cities? Okay, so it really doesn't matter what city they're in. OWCP is a federal program, and so there are no state borders. Any federal lawyer can help any federal employee from any state, regardless of where they're at. For example, Eric Blowers is a lawyer in North Carolina, and he can help you if you're in Alaska or Hawaii or Texas or Florida, wherever. They can help you from anywhere. Most of the time, you don't need to meet these lawyers face-to-face. However, if you want to find an OWCP lawyer, not just take my word for it and go talk to Eric, you can Google OWCP attorney or OWCP workers' comp attorney. And there are several that know what they're doing. And so that's how you find it. It doesn't matter what city they're in. You just have to find one that you're comfortable with using. Dr. Say is on. Hello, Dr. Say. He says, what do you recommend to do if supervisors are throwing out the CA-10 at the local post office? I'm really glad you asked. Dr. Say is in Racine, Wisconsin. Him and his father, Dr. Say, work together and along with their partner and get all the cases accepted over there. You should definitely go there if you're in the area or not in the area, because an accepted case is better than a denied case. So what do you do if they throw out a CA-10? Put up another one. Just put up another one. You know, just keep a stack of them, and every time they take one out, put another one back up. I don't see how you can get in trouble for posting something that the law says post. So I always tell people to put up another one. Don't let them take it down. I know that's probably a rhetorical question, Dr. Say. It's pretty funny. I know they do that all the time. If anybody takes down your CA-10, put it back up. Jerry wants to post in the bathroom. I love that. I hadn't thought about that. I'm going to start telling people to post in the bathroom. Post them on like all the stall doors above the urinals where you don't really have anything else to do but read. Yeah, since you never got your COP, Jared, definitely make that call. Donna, Dr. Ellis is in Oklahoma City. Just go to ellisclinic.com. ellisclinic.com. You'll find that's his website. And again, he's not associated with Federal Injury Centers. I just respect him. He's excellent. Lynn, that's okay. I know how to read typos. So Cheryl, your claim examiner hasn't returned 6 phone calls. Ask for the supervisor or the supervisor's supervisor. Get somebody on the phone. I like the congressperson thing though. How do you get to the ACS website, Wayne? Go to Google and search OWCP ACS, and it'll be the first thing. It'll be #1 on Google. That's how you get there. Or Gini said DOL ACS. They both work. Your claims examiner has not returned your call in 13 months. Barbara, I want you to call Eric Blowers. Okay, get the number from Gini. Call Eric Blowers, and let's see if he's got any strategies that can help you out. I think in about 1 minute, he could probably give you a better strategy than I'm giving you here. Donna, there's definitely an attorney in Atlanta. That's exactly right. But like I said, if you Google OWCP lawyers, you'll find a list of them on Google. You can vet them yourselves and decide who you like the best. Yes, Tammy, Eric does answer the phone himself. He's super. He's located in North Carolina. Barbara, you're awesome, but thanks for the compliment. Okay, well, I've gotten to the end. I appreciate everybody being on tonight, and it's always fun doing these. It's not as fun doing it by myself. It's better when Jeannie's here to be entertaining. Nobody's able to see her tonight, and but I'm sure it would have been wildly entertaining. So anyways, thanks very much. I want everyone to go to federalinjurycenters.com. Click on the Forms tab, print forms out. All the forms are there. Go to Federal Injury Centers on Facebook, follow and like, as well as this Wednesday night OWCP Chats page. I want you to follow and like it. And I'm still setting at 22 followers on Twitter. What's up with that? 22? Look, there's 62 people watching right now. I can't have 62 followers. I want you to go to Twitter just right now. Here, look. Go on your phone. If you don't have Twitter, go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and download Twitter. And then create a new account. It's free. It's easy. It's not a total waste of time, so do that. So go on your phone and get Twitter. And then go search for it's the @ Fed Injury Center. Not Federal Injury Centers, not Fed Injury Centers, Fed Injury Center. They're all 3 singular, Fed Injury Center. I want you to go there and follow that. By the time I wake up tomorrow, I want to have 100 followers, not 22. It's not a waste of your time. Twitter's kind of weird. Like, I don't really get the point either, except if you're getting good information. And so all these laws that I talk about on here, I like to post them there, like just quick hits. They're super useful and not a waste of time. And when you're in front of your supervisor and they're giving you a hard time, it's awesome to know you can go to Twitter and go, I know where it's at. And you can just click it. I'll always have like a link to the exact place where you can find it. It really saves you a lot of time. And so I'm using Twitter for that. So go get Twitter, and you only have to follow one person, just me. You don't have to follow anybody else. @Fed Injury Center. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on there. So thanks a lot. It was really good seeing everybody tonight. I wish I could have seen you, but it was really good to be seen. And we'll see you next time. Have a good night.